Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today we are filming Game of Thrones premiere foods for you guys. And I'm really excited. I actually have a ton of ideas for Game of Thrones food and drinks. So I think I'm gonna do a part 2 to this for the finale. So please subscribe if you're not already, if you wanna see that video. But today I'm gonna show you guys how to make some really delicious foods. And I just want to point out that these are not supposed to be authentic. These are just little like reminiscent treats that if you are having a premiere party, your guests may enjoy, or even if you're just at home by yourself watching the show, that you can enjoy as well. So today we are going to be making Sansa's lemon cakes, and we are also going to be making White Walker Eye Buckeyes. And then last but not least, we are going to make some delicious pigeon pie. So anyway guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I will see you on Thursday with another vlog. So the first thing we're gonna make is Sansa's lemon cakes. So in order to make these lemon cakes, you're gonna need some lemon cake mix, and you can totally use like your own cake mix recipe for lemon if you have it, but I just chose to go the easy and cheap route and just get a mix. And then of course you're gonna need the ingredients to make that mix. So I have 3 eggs, some vegetable oil, and water. We're also gonna need some butter. I chose to use Earth Balance just because I try to cut out as much dairy as I can. And then I have cinnamon as well as raspberries. And then as far as your baking tray goes, I got this flour one off of Pampered Chef, which I think is the best because the lemon cakes that Sansa eats in the show are like in the shape of flowers or like little perfect mountain shaped cakes. So the first thing we're gonna do is preheat our oven to 350 degrees, and then we are going to either spray or butter your pan, whichever you prefer. Obviously if you're using cupcakes with tins, you do not have to spray, but I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now. Okay, so now that our tin is buttered and our oven is preheated, we're gonna go ahead and mix up our cake mix. So obviously just follow the directions in the box. I'm just gonna go ahead and add all my ingredients to my KitchenAid and mix it all up. All right, so we're just gonna go ahead and pour these in. I pour them about halfway so they have room to rise. Okay, now that our tins are filled, we're gonna put them on in the oven. And we're gonna bake these for about 15 minutes. Okay, so the lemon cakes just came out of the oven, and this is what we're working with. So they did rise a little bit, so I'm just gonna go ahead and take a knife and slice those evenly off. All right, so this is what our lemon cakes are looking like. Super beautiful with the flower designs on them. So now I'm just gonna make a little glaze to go on top. So I'm going to melt about a cup of butter. I would approximate in this bowl. I'm gonna put it in the microwave for about a minute, and then I'm gonna mix it with about a tablespoon of, sorry, not a tablespoon, a teaspoon of cinnamon powder, and then I will show you what they look like after that. Alright, so here's the melted butter. I'm gonna go ahead and drizzle it onto the top of my lemon cakes. And this is just gonna add a nice buttery and cinnamony taste to it. Obviously, if you are making these, you can do whatever you like. You can put frosting, but I also think that these look more original to the actual show because they don't really have any frosting or anything on top. They're just kind of like a little like tea cake. So anyway, this is the next step. And then last but not least, in the show, they have like a little red fruit on top. So I'm gonna go ahead and just put a little raspberry on to the top of each of my lemon cakes. So the next thing that we are going to make are White Walker Eye Buckeyes, which are my personal favorite because I think Buckeyes are delicious. But for this recipe, you're gonna need a whole pack of Oreos. I prefer to use the regular. I think double stuff has too much filling, so it like messes up the consistency of the Buckeyes. So just regular Oreos. You're gonna need an 8-ounce package of cream cheese. And then you're gonna need chocolate chips to melt. So white chocolate is gonna be the best for this recipe, but I got milk chocolate just because I prefer the taste. So I'm gonna do like half and half. But you can do whichever you prefer. And then you are just going to need some gel icings, so blue and white, in order to draw the White Walker eyes on top. Okay, so the first thing that you're gonna do is crush up all of your Oreos into the tiniest bit you can get. Like sand would be the best preference, but I can never get them to work without breaking the Ziploc bag open. So I prefer to just do it in the actual Oreo container. So that's what I'm gonna do right now. This is a good time to let out your frustration and anger from the week and just go to town with these Oreos. You also need to make sure that your cream cheese is softened. I forgot to mention that while Blake is hacking away with those Oreos. So you can see here I've got my crushed Oreos. The finer particles have moved to the bottom. It's okay if there's still some big chunks because we're about to mix it all together with the 8-ounce package of cream cheese, and that is going to make it a little bit more of a finer texture as well. All right, friends, so the next thing we need to do is to melt our chocolate. So like I said, I'm using white chocolate because it's gonna look better on the Buckeye. But what you do is you take a base with boiling water, and then on top you're gonna put a glass bowl or a glass pan like I'm doing here, and put your chocolate chips, and then you're just gonna go ahead and stir it until it gets melted. You can buy the microwavable chocolate that melts in the microwave. Personally, I just think that it's way too expensive when you can just do this. So that's what I'm doing, but if you wanna get the microwavable ones, go for it. While you're waiting for your chocolate to melt, you can start making your Buckeyes into balls. So you just do this by taking a little bit in your hands and rolling it into a ball. I would say my balls are about 1 inch in diameter. So this is about how big they are. I'm just gonna keep going until you run out of Buckeye mix.
Okay.
All right, so these beauties have all been covered in chocolate. I'm gonna go ahead and pop them into the freezer. These have already started hardening while I started doing the milk chocolate, so honestly you could leave them on the counter, but I just want to speed along the process. So I'm just gonna put them in the freezer until they get hard. So you can see our Buckeyes are now frozen. You can actually see the steam rising off the top of them. We're gonna go ahead and start painting some eyes. And they don't have to be super beautiful, guys. Like they're going in your tummy anyway, but as long as they are pretty evenly distributed, then they should look beautiful. So I'm basically just putting a little dollop, and then I'm just kind of sliding it around to make the circle for the White Walker eyes. Okay, now I'm just going back in and I'm adding a little pupil. I just realized this should probably be black, so I would suggest getting black. It's gonna look a little more authentic. But we are making these White Walker eyes. All right, guys, so the last thing that we are gonna make today is pigeon pie. And you will probably know this from many, many scenes in Game of Thrones, but most famously at Joffrey and Marjorie's wedding when he cuts into the pigeon pie. But just to let you guys know, this is probably the most labor-intensive recipe we're gonna be doing today. So pour yourself some Dornish red or some Arbor Gold white, or pour yourself some ale, and let's get started with this recipe. Also, one more thing to note, that this recipe is going to be a lot to taste, so obviously you kind of mess around, find your own recipe, and see what works for you. I also wanted to point out that I'm just going to be making one large pie, so I think that that's the best if you're just having like a little watch party with you and your significant other or a couple of people. But if you're having a huge party, I would recommend making like little mini pies, so that way people can just grab them and go. So for this recipe, you are going to need quite a lot of stuff. You're gonna need some cheese. I chose Mexican, but you could also do cheddar as another good alternative. You're gonna need some pie crust, some regular sour cream, some potatoes. Honestly, it doesn't mind what kind of potatoes. It doesn't really matter what kind of potatoes, just as long as you've got some potatoes. We're also gonna need some chicken, because obviously we're not gonna make actual pigeon. So I am a vegetarian, so I'm using Gardein chicken strips. I'm just not gonna use the teriyaki sauce, but if you are a meat eater, you can obviously use regular chicken as well. You're gonna need some milk. I am gonna use almond milk, some butter, a medium-sized onion, pepper and salt, garlic cloves, garlic salt, and veggie broth, or chicken broth if you want. So the first thing that you're gonna wanna do is start some boiling water in a pot, and you are going to want to preheat your oven to 425 degrees, and then we are gonna start making some mashed potatoes for the base of our pie. So I have about 5 medium-sized potatoes here that I have washed and scrubbed, and I'm just gonna cut them into cubes and toss them into the boiling water. Alright guys, so once you have your potatoes boiling, you're also going to want to set up a large and a small skillet over medium heat. We're going to put onions in one and our chicken in the other. So I'm going to just take my onion and I'm going to go ahead and start dicing it. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and add the onions into the pan. All we did was put some olive oil. And then in this pan, we have our chicken, and we're just gonna cook that in some olive oil as well. We're also going to add about 5 cloves of garlic to the onions and some salt, pepper, and garlic salt to taste. All right, friends, so now that my chicken is done cooking, I'm just gonna go ahead and start shredding my chicken. So to do this, I'm just gonna take a fork and just kind of shred it into the tiniest pieces that I can get. And that is gonna make a layer in our pigeon pie. Okay, so I'm gonna hold on to it. Obviously be very careful if your pan is still on, but it's gonna kind of go in here, shred it into some pieces. So the best philosophy to tell when your potatoes are done is when the skin starts coming off of them, or you can just stick a fork in them and make sure that they're soft. But since mine are done, we're gonna go ahead and start mashing. So guys, this next step is another step where it's really to taste. So my recommendation for you is gonna be to add your butter, sour cream, seasonings, all to taste. I would start with maybe a couple of tablespoons of each, mix it all together, taste it, see what you want to add. It's really a preference. And then as far as the milk goes, you're going to want to add it to the texture that you like. I recommend making it a little thicker for these pigeon pies. I think it's just going to be a better texture and consistency for the layers. But anyway, I'll show you what mine look like before I start mashing. So you can see I've added my sour cream. I think my butter already melted. Oh yeah, there's some over there. Some milk, some salt, pepper, garlic salt, and I'm just gonna mash it all together. Voila, beautiful mashed potatoes. Alrighty guys, so the last step is we are going to start layering this pigeon pie. So I have a Pyrex pie crust thing, so I just put my pie crust in the middle. I'm gonna go ahead and put some little fork lines to make sure it bakes through all the way. But if you don't have a tin like this, don't fear. You can just buy the pre-made pie crust and you can put all this into the pre-made pie crust and just buy the dough for the top. Okay, we're first gonna add our mashed potatoes. So I'm gonna come on in and I'm gonna start doing a layer of very delicious potatoes. Okay, next we're gonna go ahead and add our chicken on top. So mine kind of came out cubed. If you have more shredded, that's gonna be better. But either way, I'm sure it's gonna taste delicious. Nella's a fan of the chicken. So now we're just gonna add our onions and garlic mixture to the top. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to try this. We're just gonna add our layer of cheese before we close this pie up. And I'm gonna make it a pretty thick layer of cheese because I love cheese. So I'm gonna make it very thick. Then before we seal it up, we're just gonna add a tiny, tiny bit of vegetable broth so that the chicken doesn't dry out while it's baking. So I'm just gonna go in and do a thin little layer.
drizzle it on. So that way some of the juices will get absorbed by the chicken. And then lastly, we're just gonna go ahead and add the pie crust to the top. If you're more creative than me, you could totally like make some house sigils or something out of the crust. I am not that creative, so I'm just gonna go ahead and put it on to the top of this pie. Should probably move it more inward so I can actually cut it. And I'm not trying to make it super fancy because the pigeon pies in the show are not incredibly fancy, besides obviously the one at Joffrey and Marjorie's wedding. They're just kind of like a nice little pot pie. Okay, and now we're just gonna poke some holes on top. You can totally veganize this recipe as well if you just use like vegan cheese, vegan butter, vegan sour cream. And voila, we're gonna go ahead and stick it in the oven. So guys, the pie ended up baking for about 20 minutes. You can tell when it's done because it's gonna be a nice golden crust color and it'll be nice and crispy as well. So I wanna slice into it and show you guys what it looks like. Oh my goodness. I am so excited. Oh. Delicious pigeon pie. Look at that cheese.
What's your thoughts?
It's so good. Blake had this brilliant idea to eat it with sour cream, and I think that would just taste so delicious.
Thank you everyone so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed and I hope that you try these delicious treats and foods. Please tag me on social media if you try any of these snacks or if you make any of your own creations. I would love to check them out. And like I said, I will probably be filming a part 2 to this video, so please subscribe if you are not already and you want to take a look at that video. And I hope that you're having a wonderful week. Bye!